Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video we're going to take a look at a great game that I had in the Montana, the Tier 10 American Battleship. I'm divisioned up with my friend from APOC 3FM, and he's playing in the Gearing, the Tier 10 American Destroyer, and we're playing some domination here on the map, the Atlantic. For my captain skills, I have Direction Center for Catapult Fighter, Expert Marksman, Adrenaline Rush, Superintendent, Basics of Survivability, Advanced Firing Training, and Concealment Expert. And for my equipment, I have Main Armaments Mod 1, Damage Control Mod 1 and 2, AA Guns Mod 2, Concealment Systems Mod 1, and the unique American Artillery Plotting Room modification. So the Montana here in World of Warships, what do you need to know about it, and why do I think that it is the best Tier 10 battleship in the game? Well, on our channel, I've made a couple of videos describing the best Tier 10 destroyer and the best Tier 10 cruiser. Of course, this is a subjective opinion. However, I really do feel that most of it is supported by the statistics and by the way the ships play in-game. A couple weeks ago, the video for the best Tier 10 destroyer had the Gearing, and a couple months ago, I believe it was last October or September, I'm not 100% sure, I made a video with the Zhao for the best Tier 10 cruiser. And the reason why I think that is the case for both of those ships, respectively, is because there's no real weakness per se with the Gearing and with the Zhao. Across the board, their statistics are good enough to excellent in all parameters, and they're ships that not only have pretty low floors for skill, but they also have exceptionally high ceilings when in the hands of a Super Unicum or one of the best players out there like myself. And I feel that that's the case here with the Montana for the battleship side. Now, of course, the Montana has some very good competitors at Tier 10 with the Grosse Kurfürst, the Yamato, and the Conqueror. And of course, there's also going to be the upcoming France for the French battleship line. But this replay shows everything that there is to love about the Montana, and due to the lowering of the Citadel some time ago, Wyatt has really transformed this ship into a battleship that can do everything and really doesn't struggle with much. Now again, you must think about this from an average player perspective. Obviously, most of the videos here on BIA are, excellent games that myself, Putin, or Spider have. But when I'm comparing it across the board to the average player, that's the reason why I think the Montana is the best. Of course, the Yamato has the amazing set of guns, the 18.1 inchers, and then of course the Grosse Kurfürst is one of the better brawlers in the game because it has even more brutal firepower than the Montana, and it also has an excellent set of secondaries and sneaky good AA. However, the Montana in-game right now is just an amazing ship to play, and it's just really fun to play. That's something that could not be said some time ago when this thing had a Citadel that was larger than the state that it represents. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here. Back when this game was in the open beta, and for about the first year of its existence for the live client, if I'm not mistaken, this thing took Citadels extremely easily. Even Bismarck's and Tirpitz's that came across this thing at point-blank range had no trouble whatsoever in penetrating the Citadel. And it was a problem that was also the case with the Iowa and the Missouri as well. You can see right there as I land 6 penetrating hits on that Iowa and do just over 10,000 points of damage. Quite a few of those shells hit right at the turret barbettes and did not manage to find the Citadel on that battleship. But anyway, why is the Montana so darn good? Well, the armor is now excellent. It has over 400 millimeters of belt armor, and with the lowering of the Citadel, this thing is a lot harder to Citadel unless it is giving an absolute perfect broadside. Now, you will see an example of the armor later on when I'm shooting at an enemy Montana, and it will show you why that, well, it's not as good as advertised, but it is certainly much better than where it used to be. Now, of course, you can sit there and talk about whether it deserves to have the lowered Citadel or whether it's good for the ship and good for the game, but I digress. The armor on the Montana is much better than it used to be, and you can actually feel a lot more comfortable in angling it. Now, the set of guns that this thing has are pretty freaking good as well. You get 406mm guns, you get 4 turrets with 3 guns apiece, so a total of 12 of these bad boys. And they have some very impressive statistics. You have a maximum range of 23.6 kilometers before you factor in the spot plane, which increases it to over 28 kilometers. You have 13,500 points of damage on a Citadel, which is fantastic for a Tier 10 battleship. And the fact that you get 12 of these guns and access to that very unique American artillery plotting room modification, which reduces the dispersion by 11% instead of the standard 7%, which other ships have, makes these guns extremely accurate at all ranges. And you're going to see here with this next broadside that I shoot at the Monarch. Of course, the British battleships at the high tiers are extremely hard to citadel, but you don't need to get citadels to deal massive amounts of damage. 23,000 points of damage with 1 over penetration and 5 penetrations right into the meaty section of that tier 8 British battleship. Even though I didn't get a citadel, that is a salvo that he is going to regret taking. And this thing is just fantastic at dealing consistent damage. And while the Grosser Kurfürst and the Yamato do boast better penetration, I've always been a fan of the guns on this ship, and you know, there's really nothing that bad about them. The shell flight time is a bit wonky to get used to. It is very slow, but American battleships like the North Cal and the Iowa at tiers 8 and 9 already have slow shell velocities anyway, so by the time you get to this battleship, it really shouldn't be that big of an issue. The AA on the Montana is absolutely fantastic. If you run AFT and AA Guns Mod 2, you can get the rating on this thing above 100. So you can max it out and get that gold standard 7.2 kilometer range on the long range AA. And what this means is that even against tier 10 carriers, it's not that bad. Now, of course, for the purposes of this replay, there is an enemy Lexington, which is, of course, a tier 8 carrier. So when he does attack me later on in the replay, it is going to absolutely shred the planes without too much of an issue. But then again, this is tier 10 AA on a tier 10 battleship, so it really should be able to do that. Against Taihos and Hakuryus, you know, tier 9 and 10 carriers, it is still more than adequate to be able to swat planes out of the sky. So the AA has never been in question, and it is arguably the best AA on any of the tier 10 battleships. The Conqueror and the Kurfürst can get respectable levels as well, but the Montana is just bristling from stem to stern with all kinds of calibers, you know, the 20 millimeters, the 40 millimeters, and of course those 127 dual purpose. So it's a very good AA platform, and even if you do take a lot of HE spam, you're still going to boast a lot of AA guns to be able to shoot down enemy planes. The maneuverability on this ship is not bad as well. It can top out near 30 knots, which is pretty good for a tier 10 battleship, and, well, pretty good for a battleship in all honesty. Of course, the Iowa at tier 9 is the fastest battleship currently in the game, being able to get to about 33 knots, maybe just a shade over that. But the maneuverability on the Montana, it's not bad. The rudder shift isn't particularly good, and the turning radius isn't particularly good anyway, but you have to put it into perspective. The Yamato and the Kurfürst and the Conqueror, well, all those tier 10 battleships, they do take a while to turn anyway, so it's really not that big of a deal, and 30 knots is plenty to get around the maps. Now, the one thing that I could say that may or may not be a weakness, you can see there I only took 4 torpedoes from the Shimakaze that launched them at me. And the reason why I say that is because the Shimakaze has yet to be spotted yet, and he, based off of where the torpedoes came from, has to be off my starboard side. The torpedo belt on the Montana isn't that good compared to the Yamato. And you saw right there, I only took 4 torpedoes, and I was chunked down from about full health down to around 27,000 before the heel came back in. So, yeah, the torpedo belt really isn't that impressive. I'll give you that if you're sitting there thinking, well, Sneaky, the torpedo belt is rather poor on this ship. It's not poor, it's just, it's nothing special at all. I mean, when you think about a special torpedo belt, you're thinking about ships like the Yamato, and you're thinking about ships like the Alabama. So yeah, you're gonna eat a lot of torpedo damage with this ship. But I mean, let's be honest here. If any battleship eats 4 torpedoes from a Shimakaze, it's gonna be hurting. Even a Yamato, even an Alabama. So in my opinion, it's not really that big of a deal. And chances are taking 4 torpedoes in one gulping, like I do right there, is something that doesn't happen very often. It was just a bit of carelessness on my part. And lastly, the concealment on the Montana is not that bad at all. 13.4 kilometers with a full stealth build. Of course, most of the tier 10 battleships do have concealment in excess of 13 kilometers, which is rather poor anyway. The only ship that bucks that trend is, of course, the Conqueror with 11.8, but the concealment is plenty good to get you by, and you actually do outspot a Moskva, which is something to note. So there at least is a couple ships in the game. I think the Henri IV has right about the same. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think I'm wrong on that, but I'm not 100% sure. But the stealth on this thing, well, it's not bad. 13.4 will get the job done. Now you can see here with this next salvo that's going out that Atago is going full broadside, and I get a nice juicy double citadel with the devastating strike. I'm up to 136,000 points of damage, and that accuracy though, I mean, that guy had absolutely no chance of living. Those shells fell in right at the waterline and just absolutely deleted that guy. And that's one thing that the Montana can, I guess I could say it boasts. It's probably the best cruiser killer amongst the tier 10 battleships. Now, of course, the Kurfürst has the same amount of guns, but they're a lot less accurate. accurate, and while the Yamato has more alpha damage and more potent guns, it only has 9 of them. But with the Montana, with the accuracy equipment piece, you just get very, very nice horizontal dispersion on most of your salvos. And you're going to see that coming up here against this next salvo, or not the next salvo, but when I do decide to shoot at the Montana that's off to my my aft end on the port side, you're going to see a very nice description of that. But yeah, this ship overall, as I read off the statistics, it's not that bad. There's really no giant weakness that this thing has, and because the Citadel was lowered, it only further proves my point. Now, what you're going to see here with this next shot on the Montana is absolute bliss. And why I say that even though the Citadel was lowered, if the Montana does give you a full-on broadside at a 90-degree angle, you can still punish these things very, very hard. That guy's about 17 kilometers away. The salvo is going in on, and 3 shells managed to penetrate the belt armor. A triple Citadel, doing 33,000 points of damage as I pick up my second kill of the game, and I bring my damage total up to 180,000 points of damage. That was an absolute boss salvo. The accuracy coming in clutch, the horizontal and the vertical dispersion, just beautiful on that last salvo. And, well, quite frankly, most of the salvos that you've seen me shoot so far in this game, sans that one right there with the front guns on the Shimakaze, have been very accurate, very well-placed salvos. And, you know, that's just why I like the ship. The gunnery is so consistent. It's very similar to the North Carolina at Tier 8. A lot of the really good players in the comp scene love to take that thing because of the consistency of the accuracy that you get in that ship. And it's the same thing here with the Montana. It does not change. And it's also the same thing with the Missouri and the Iowa at Tier 9. You can see right there the forward guns throwing out another very nice salvo as I kill my 3rd ship of the game, that enemy Shimakaze, and I pick up the Confederate to boot as well. Although the game is still a little bit in question. It's 628 to 580. The enemy team still has 2 of the caps. However, I've been very hesitant to try to move back north because that Shimakaze was there. However, since I was able to take care of business, now it shouldn't be too much more difficult to try to push up to the north. You can see there's still plenty of enemy ships that are way off to the southeastern side of the map, and our carrier also does have pretty good air control amongst the center part, so that's good. You can see this next salvo falling in on the Iowa. I do about 19,000 points of damage with 10 shells that hit out of the 12 that were fired, and I also break 200,000 damage and pick up the high caliber. And even without a Citadel, that is still a very nice salvo, and then my friendly carrier manages to go in and take care of business on that Tier 9 American battleship. So a very nice drop by there, right there by the carrier, so very nice stuff. You can also see that not only have we extended the lead, however, the friendly Admiral Hipper is on the B cap, and the friendly Alabama manages to take care of the Hubbarok. So now this game is looking much better than before. Now I'm going to turn to the right and go bow in against this enemy Yamato. So yeah, throughout this game, just the accuracy has been great. Now, granted, I'm a very good player, and as such, my accuracy is very good. I believe my main battery hit ratio is about 42%, so obviously I've spent a lot of time getting really good at shooting in this game. But yeah, this thing just, it gives you so good shots, so good dispersion, and if you know how to aim properly and you understand the nuances of it, it's a joy to play, and I love it so much. And again, look at all the shells that hit. I do 8,500 damage with another 9 shells out of 12 that hit the target. Just beautiful stuff. Now, you're probably wondering, Sneaky, why are you loading high explosive? I was honestly expecting this Yamato to stay bow into me and just kind of, you know, do what Yamatos do and stay bow in. However, he turns full broadside, and very unfortunately, I have the high explosive loaded. However, the Montana's HE is not that bad, especially when you're shooting against a target that does not have much of its superstructure saturated with the high explosive shot. 8 shells out of 12 hit. I do over 11,000 points of damage and managed to set a fire on that guy. So even though the AP salvo might have deleted him right there, I still managed to chunk him down by over 11k with the high explosive. And also, if you noticed, most of those shells hit the conning tower or the upper part of the belt armor, or, well, what I should really say, where there is no belt armor to speak of, where it's, you know, anywhere from 30 to 50 millimeters. So, yeah, the high explosive shot was not bad, so don't be afraid to load the HE if a Yamato is staying bow in, at least when the superstructure is not saturated. So my next salvo going downrange is against an enemy Iowa that is angled in very nicely. You can see the damage counter spikes up to 250,000, so I did about 10k there with 3 penetrating hits, and I'm now looking for the kill shot here on the enemy Yamato. Now, right here, you're going to get a very good example of how the AA is. Obviously, I've taken some damage here in this game, but most of my AA mounts are still good to go. You can see some torpedo and dive bombers are coming in. I'm not able to get the kill on the Yamato, but that's okay. because now my AA guns are going to go to town on these guys. Granted, again, they are tier 8 planes. I fully understand that, but you're going to see right here that in a very short amount of time, without defensive fire, my AA is going to be able to shoot down a lot of enemy planes. We're sitting at 7 now. You see more dive bombers are coming in. I'm going to hold off on using my repair here. I did not take a flooding from the torpedo bomber, which is really nice. And I'm also swinging my turrets into play because I'm expecting this enemy Iowa to try and come around the island that's off to my port side. And there we go. At 13.5 kilometers he is. Now, very unfortunately for me, I am almost full broadside to this guy, but I angled just enough and I do not get citadeled. I take a couple penetrating hits, but I'm still no worse for the wear. And now I'm going to continue to angle in on this guy from his rear turrets. I do 8,000 points of damage on the first salvo from my front guns, and then my rear guns hopefully will be able to finish the job. The shells fall in, and there we go. I citadel that guy. I pick up my 4th kill of the game, and I'm up to 269,000 points of damage. That is a fantastic damage number, no matter the tier, no matter the ship. And I'm going to look for a salvo here, a very cheeky one at this Tashkent. I pop my spot plane here just to get a little bit better view, and I'm going to try to thread some shells here right through that little narrow gap in the island, but unfortunately for me, and fortunately for our team, the friendly Ibuki manages to take care of business, and with that happening, we get to 1,000 points and the game ends. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results, 823,000 credits received and 12.4k total EXP and a further 7,000 free XP. This was my first win of the day. I picked up a devastating strike, a high caliber and Confederate, dealing 269,000 points of damage, my highest total to date in this ship, off of 98 shell hits and 7 citadels. I shot down 14 enemy planes, sank 4 enemy ships, and had 1 fire set with that derp HE salvo. Taking a look at the team score, 3,259 base XP in this thing. An absolutely fantastic performance. My buddy 3FM, not finishing so hot, but I digress. That's all right. I still had a really nice game in this ship. For the looking at the detailed report, 255,000 points of damage dealt with the main battery, and a further 13,000 damage dealt with the fires. I would have obviously had a little bit more damage done if I had the armor-piercing shot loaded for that salvo, but that's okay. And then I also had 2.6 million potential damage received. Now, the only reason why I did not manage to get a dreadnought was because the majority of my damage that I took was from those Shimakaze torpedoes, but still, 2.6 million potential damage is a fantastic number to have, and I took 111,000 points of damage. So you can see that I really didn't repair all that much because most of the damage that I took was unrepairable from the torpedoes. And you can also see I lost 45 modules, including 43 AA mounts, and yet I was still able to shoot down quite a few of those planes at the end of the game. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I was able to convince you that the Montana is a very powerful tier 10 battleship, and, you know, bucking conventional wisdom, this thing in the hands of a really good player is, or at least should be considered, one of, if not the best tier 10 battleship in the game. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this replay. Please consider giving the video a like, commenting on it, or possibly subscribing to the channel. All of it is very much appreciated. And with that being said, this is the Sneaky Snake for Brothers in Arms World of Warships signing off. Guys and gals, as always, have a great day.